Hello and welcome to Wolfman Gaming. This is my Metro Exodus Sam Story DLC, a Man of Principle trophy walkthrough, and this is episode 2, which I have named Exchanging Favors. And I'm glad some of these episodes are quite long, because that is an insanely long title, so if there were to be any really short episodes, I would barely have time to get past the title card before the episode ends. But either way, going back to the game. In the last episode, we got attacked by soldiers, and after they have knocked you out, they take you to their leader called Tom, which is also an American. And Tom is in possession of a nuclear sub, and he has agreed to take you home to San Diego in exchange for you persuading the captain to tell Tom where he can find the fuel rods to power it up, so he can take you home. And after you talk to Tom, that is quite a long cutscene. I've trimmed out all the cutscenes. I've tried to make this as bare bones as possible, to not prolong this anymore, because some of the cutscenes are unskippable, or I think all the cutscenes are actually unskippable. And also, you move around in this game in a motorboat in certain places, and you will not see me traveling in it. Instead, you will see a map screen, like you will see right about now, very soon, like this. Because there is no combat when you're going in the motorboat. And there are two ways to go in the motorboat, or you can press down R2, which will propel it forward, and you can press L2, which will make you reverse. And they tell you that if you hold down this X button, or A button if you're playing this on Xbox, you will go into top speed, but they warn you that it attracts attention. And having played through this game twice, I have never experienced enemies being aware of my presence going at full speed. I do tend to go down to normal speed whenever I get close to my destination, but when you're out on open water, so to speak, feel free to go full steam ahead. And in this walkthrough, now that I have a long episode, I can talk a little bit more what we will be covering. In this walkthrough, I will show you how to get all the trophies except for one. There is a trophy called Music Lover for picking up, I think it's 8 sheets of music, because Sam plays the harmonica. And anyone who has watched my videos previously probably knows how I feel about collectibles. If you're new to the channel, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, because any old-time fans will probably go like, no, don't let him rant. But I don't like them, so I have skipped picking them up in this walkthrough. But we will be getting all other trophies along the way. And one of them is called Great Owl. And that is quite important right now, because there are 8 Night Hunter stashes throughout this game, which are hidden rooms containing good weapon upgrades, ammunition, and a lot of good stuff. And the Great Owl trophy is linked to getting all 8 of those. And one of them is actually in this building. And there are also secret stashes that will not relate to that trophy, but I'm gonna show you as many of them as I have found, at least, and I think I've found all of them. So we are gonna be so kitted out. I talked about in the previous video that the first fight against the Batwing is the hardest. You fight him 3 times throughout the entire game. And that is a lot to do with the fact that we will pick up quite a few upgrades, and we will also get incendiary rounds, which is ammunition for the Sammy rifle, which I'm holding right now, and they pack a brutal punch. But when you go over here, jump down on this little walkway. This will lead you into the first of the 8 Night Hunter stashes. And here we just need to move through this water and go up the staircase, and we will find lots of good stuff. And also a few weapon upgrades, which leads us into our next trophy I'm gonna talk about, which is Lord of War. Because there are a few upgrades for the Sammy rifle and for the Stallion pistol. And there is a trophy called, as I said, Lord of War, linked to finding all the upgrades for those 2 weapons. There are also upgrades for your shotgun, but that does not count towards the trophy. And throughout this walkthrough, by going through all the Night Hunter stashes, and we're also gonna loot through all the enemy corpses we can find, you will get all the upgrades. And that is something they have implemented from the main game, that you can, on the fly, if you press down L1 and X button on PlayStation, once again A button on if you're playing on Xbox, you can go into Sam's backpack and you can switch out different upgrades for your weapons on the fly. And I must say, I've said it before and I'm gonna say it again, that is a mechanic I absolutely love. Because you can change your weapons to suit any situation perfectly. Perfectly might be a bit of an exaggeration, but to fit the situation extremely well was what I was gonna say. Or is a bit more true to say. And when you're going through these areas, as I've said before, always loot through everything. Whenever you find those glowing mushrooms, always pick them up. They give you chemical resources, you can find mechanical resources, and all that is used to upgrade or to create filters, ammunition, and all that good stuff. And this is a great example. This is a secret stash where we pick up the night vision goggles. But this does not count towards the Night Hunter stashes, because this, for some reason, is not a Night Hunter stash. All we need to do now is kill this mutant. And the throwing knives are by far one of my absolute favorite weapons in this game. Always make sure when you are at a workbench, because you can only make ammunition when you're at a workbench, always make sure to have throwing knives, because they will kick ass a lot. Any human enemy you encounter will die in one hit, as long as you hit them in center mass. Sometimes if you hit them in the leg or the arm, they will actually survive, which I think is very rude of them. And it can be a little bit arbitrary, because sometimes they die, sometimes they don't. But as long as you hit them in center mass, either torso, abdomen, back, or of course the head, it is an instant kill. And it also works for most of these mutants. Some of these humanimals, I think they're called, these humanoid mutants, will survive if you throw a hunting knife on them, or a throwing knife. Especially the blue ones. And you saw the one inside that little stash area. He survived 2 knives even. Or did he die from the second? Either way. But whenever you come up against a blue mutant, that's when you need to be careful, because those smurfs, they are, I think there's some kind of extra evolved humanimals, so they take a bit more of a beating. And the best weapon I think to use against mutants is actually the shotgun. The shotgun will tear holes in them quite quickly. I think it's a lot more effective than the Sammy rifle or the pistol. The pistol is great as long as you get a headshot. And if all else fails, always feel free to use a Molotov. You also have hand grenades, but I'm not a big fan of using them, because I think the blast radius when you throw a hand grenade is quite big. So you run the risk of taking splash damage if you're in an enclosed area. And it's quite interesting that I said that the shotgun is really good against these guys, as I'm using the Sammy rifle right now. But I make that mistake so you don't have to do it. Switch over to the shotgun instead, it will make this significantly easier, especially if they come up close. The Sammy of course can be better at a distance, but since these guys are quite aggressive, and that was a wonderful knife throw. If I may say so myself. Which I may. And that you just saw there. That is one of the greatest things about the throwing knives, is that they are not just insanely powerful. You can also pick them up after you throw them and they don't break. The only time you will lose them is if you throw them into an enemy and he falls off a ledge into the water or something, or maybe you miss and throw it out the window or something like that. But either way, now we're done in that building. We got the Night Hunter stash and the great little upgrade, so it's time to go into this building. And this place, I think, actually is completely devoid of mutants. The reason we are going here is, as I think I said earlier at least, is that Tom asked us to find the captain, and he has marked our map with the most recent locations they have spotted him, because he does have a few hideouts. Because he is alone against a lot of mutants and bandits and all that unpleasant stuff you can find out here in the remains of Vladivostok. But the reason it's worth going here is here we also find some upgrades and of course loot. And incendiary rounds, which is worth mentioning, are a bullet you can find that you can equip into the Sammy rifle. When you go up against human enemies, I have actually not tried them on mutants, so I don't know how effective they are against them. But whenever you fire an incendiary round at a human enemy, one bullet will kill them. There is no need to fire a second bullet. Doesn't matter if you hit his pinky toe, because an incendiary round will set him aflame and burn him until there is no more life left. And it works great. Later on in the game we will get an upgrade for the Sammy rifle, which will allow you to fire single shots. And then you can just start plowing through them. But now this is one of those instances when you start getting close to this place. Make sure to not go at full speed, just for safety's sake, because this is a big bandit hideout. And we are going in here for a few reasons, because there are some upgrades, and we're also gonna unlock a trophy called Cinephile for showing a documentary about the United States to these Russians. And be careful out here. You can see the red dot blinking on my universal detector, because there are mines out here, and if you get too close to them you will hear like a tone going off that it's about to explode. If you're really quick you will be able to pick it up. You will be able to disarm it. But if one of those goes off, this is recorded on normal difficulty, and if one of those goes off when you're next to it, it will kill you, even if you're at full health. So be careful. But in this game there is a quick saving system. If you pause the game and press quick save, you will do an instant save, and always quick save. And remember, or something that's good to know, that whenever you do a quick save you will overwrite your previous one. But I love the quick save feature. I have used it a lot throughout this game, because whenever you're going into combat, when you're just before combat, it's really great to quick save. If things start going pear-shaped, because then you can change your strategy and try again. And this place that I said is jam-packed with bandits. There are quite a few enemies in here. And that is something that's a bit interesting, because there is a bit more dynamic enemies in this game than in, for example, Metro Last Light or Metro 2033. All the enemies had set patrol patterns. If you have watched my walkthroughs for those games, you'll see that I had like a path through every area. But in this game it doesn't really work the same. I tried to go through this place like super stealthy and do a really smooth run through it. And it doesn't work as perfect because enemies have a tendency to move around. Like on my first playthrough, there were 2 guys standing out there, and now there's only 1 for some reason. But if there are 2 guys, sneak up behind the first one and just knock his ass out and throw a throwing knife at the second one, and make sure to do a quick save before. Because if you're quick enough, you'll take those 2 out before the other guys are alerted. And after that, it's pretty consistent here at the beginning at least. Because there's always a guy sitting over here, so we just do a headshot on him and he dies. Smoothly, calmly, and no one is the wiser. Here we have another guy, so we just throw a knife at him. Down he goes. And make sure, as I said, make sure you don't hit him in the arm or some shit like that, because that will not always kill him. And also a mechanic that has returned from the previous games. You have a little light on Sam's wrist that will show if you're in a lighted area or not. And as long as you're in the dark, enemies will not be able to spot you unless they shine a flashlight on you or something like that. But as long as you're in the dark, you're hidden. And now things are soon gonna start kicking off. Because we have some soldiers down there watching an old movie. And we are gonna ruin their day completely by throwing a Molotov into the mix. And if you manage to aim it properly, you will be able to take, I think it's 4 guys down there. Yes. And one of them comes flying up. I have no idea why he does that. But if you manage to throw in the grenade properly or the Molotov properly, you will take out all 4 at once. And there's only 1 guy over here to right, and I stayed really aggressive and took him out, because now I know that my back is safe. So now we're gonna work our way through and killing the rest of these guys. And surviving here is all about being calm, taking it slowly, make sure to use the cover wisely, heal up whenever you feel the need to. You can make medkits in your backpack on the fly, so if you for some reason struggle and you run out of medkits, just move back, get in behind cover, take out your backpack, make a few more and go into the fight again. And also something that has returned from the main game that you can keep an eye out for is that sometimes when there is just 1 enemy left, he will surrender to you. He will give up, he doesn't want to fight anymore, and then you can feel free to either kill him or knock him out. Whenever I sneak up behind enemies and I get the prompt to either knock them out or kill them, I like to go for the knockout, not because I'm a merciful person or that it in some way plays into the karma system, because it doesn't, as far as I know. But I like to go for the knockout instead of the kill, just because the knockout animation is shorter overall. Because when you go for the kill, he has a tendency to either pull out his knife and start stabbing them, and he stabs them for like 2 or 3 times. And when he does a knockout, he basically just hits them in head or something like that. And it is a quicker animation. So I would recommend that you go for the knockout as well, especially if you're in a tight area and things can run the risk of going pear-shaped. And here I turn off the projector. And as I said earlier in this episode is that we are gonna unlock a trophy called Cinephile, and that relates to that projector. I just wanted to make sure that all the enemies are dead up here. There are also 2 guards out in the courtyard. But here I'm sure now that everyone inside was dead. So I'm just running around and looting through the corpses. And that is something I've said before, I'm probably gonna say it again throughout this walkthrough. Always loot. And you always wanna stock up on as many resources as possible, because that will make things so much easier. You will never end up in a really cramped situation if you always make sure that your resources are stacked. And also, I know that this walkthrough is a bit late out. And I want to tell you a story. It's quite funny. And now since we have some downtime while I'm killing... Did you see his hat hanging in midair? That was one of those Lucky Luke moments, I think. But once again, I'm a bit late to the party in creating this walkthrough, and that is all on me, because I had missed the fact that this walkthrough that this expansion had been released. This came out in February, and I just found out like 1 or 2 weeks ago that it was out on the market, because I went into the internet one night because I started thinking about why isn't it out yet? Why haven't I read anything about it? And realized that it's been out for over 2 months. Maybe I should buy it. Start recording a start making a project out of it. But better late than never, right? But now everyone is dead. There is one guy left, but he has surrendered, so we can just ignore him. And now we're gonna go for the Cinephile trophy. The projector room is to my left, so we're gonna run down this corridor and go into a little room where they have some cassettes stored. I think it's this room, yes. And you go over to this shelf and you start interact with it. I've shortened down that little cutscene, and it gets out this cassette with an American flag. And we're gonna bring this back to the projector room. Is it called a projector room? Not quite sure. Doesn't matter. The room with the big projector at least. But before we go there, I'm just gonna go into this little secret room. This is also not a Night Hunter stash. This is just a secret room with some good upgrades, so it's worth coming in here. And upgrades that you haven't picked up yet will always be orange, and if you have picked them up, they turn white. But I think if you already have the upgrade, I think sometimes he will turn it into mechanical resources instead. But I'm not 100% sure, but it's worth going in here at least. If there is something you may have missed, pick that up. But now that we have looted through that room, it's time to go back and put this movie in. As soon as we pick up this. Come on. Now we're going here. Just a quick look on the balcony. So just go over to this player and interact with it, and he will put it in, and you will unlock the trophy called Cinephile. And that is the end of episode 2. And as always, I want to thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again in my next video. So until next time, this is the Wolfman signing off.